The fusor unit is basically two rollers. The paper passes through the two rollers, and the toner is melt on the paper. The toner is a combination of plastic, wax, and resins. The main components of the fusor unit are lower fusor roller, or pressure roller, upper fusor roller, or heater roller, heater lamp, thermistor, thermostat, gears. Electronics assemblies are rarely used on fusor units because temperatures aren't suitable. Any electronic control is moved to the engine controller board. For the same reason, in the fusor unit, often, there are not paper sensors and motors. There are two fusor rollers, upper fusor roller, and lower fusor roller. The lower fusor roller, it's just a silicone rubber roller, on a metal shaft. It's held in tight contact with the upper roller, by springs. The upper fusor roller, it's an hollow aluminum tube, usually about 30–40 mm in diameter, with the wall 1–2 mm thick. The inner surface of the roller is coated, to absorb light and heat. The outer coating is a fluorocarbon polymer, such as Teflon, or at least a halogenated hydrocarbon. The Teflon is a non-stick material. The non-stick material is needed to stop the toner sticking to the fusor. The problem is that this material is not very inclined to stick to the aluminum roller. After 1000 pages, the non-stick material begins to rip away from the roller, causing defects. There isn't usually a sensor to detect a failure of the coating. Printer software can only make an estimate of how good the non-stick properties are likely to be, based on how many pages, with what % cover have been printed. The two rollers are easy to check. Visually look for imperfections or defects. Be careful, they are really hot. The only thing that keeps the paper from combusting is the speed at which it passes through the fusor. Usually, is the upper roller which has a problem. This roller has a limited life. This may show first as a paper feed problem, or marks on the page, especially at the edges, at intervals depending on the roller circumference. Sometimes, in the newer printers, instead of fusor roller, there is a fusor film. The fusor film is a belt, wrapped around a ceramic heater. The film is usually a coating of non-stick material, on a plastic or metal leased backing. Fusor films tend to fail, just like rollers. There is usually no sensor for this. It is only likely to be detected when a paper jam occurs or quality deteriorates. In the center of the upper fusor roller, a radiant heat lamp or a heater element is suspended. The heater lamp is an incandescent halogen lamp, actually running at 200 centigrade, and heating the roller by radiation. Is one of the most common part to wear out, and one most likely to fail without giving any explicit message. An indication that the lamp has failed, is when the fusors doesn't get hot. You can use a multimeter to test its integrity. Set the multimeter at the 100 k-ohm scale. Do not touch the lamp with bare fingers. The oil of your skin may damage the lamp. You must meter the lamp when it's out of the fusor unit, because you have to make sure you are only measuring the resistance of the lamp, not of the thermistor. The thermistor is on a separate circuit. The circuit inside the bulb must be closed. But you must know what the bulb's resistance is supposed to be. Even if the circuit is closed, the bulb of the lamp may still be bad. It should be a reading of around 10 to 100 ohms. The bigger the fusor, the lower the resistance. Sometime, instead of the lamp, there is a ceramic bar heater. Thermistor and thermal cutout can be incorporated in the heater. It heats and cools very rapidly, and that might create stress. The heat is controlled by the thermistor. The printer uses it as a thermostat to shut down the lamp when it has reached working temperature. If the lamp never does get to working temperature, printer gives error messages. The thermistor is simply a resistor. It's usually held against the hot roller, just before the point where it will touch the paper. A pair of low current wires come from the thermistor. Simply measure the resistance using a multimeter. You should read about 10 ohm, depending on the room temperature. Check to see any build-up toner on the thermistor. Make sure the thermistor is touching the hot roller. Before replacing a thermistor, try to reseat its connectors. The fuser, usually, has a pair of high current leads for its heater. These run through a thermal cutout, which prevent the fuser overheating, cutting off the main power. Depending on the printer, a resistance in the 50 to 200 ohm range is expected. Be sure the surface of the sensor is clean. Rotate the rollers, and check the teeth of the gears, particularly if you hear a clicking noise. Fuser gears are in plastic material. The bushings became oval after a while from use. If you have a metal-on-metal noise coming from the fuser, this usually is due to a worn-out bushing falling apart and resulting in the pressure roller and frame rubbing during operation. The paper carry an electrostatic charge from the transfer roller, and sometimes the sheet crashes into the front of the fuser and becomes jammed. This is particularly likely when the paper weight is less than the manufacturer's specification. If this happens frequently, maybe the printer does not discharge static from the page. Sometimes there is a row of metal tip to discharge static. If it does not work properly, the paper might jam. Check to see any build-up toner on the edge of the fingers. Check if they are out of position. If one of them is too worn or defective and you have no spare parts available, you could try to remove it.